I can definitely get into movies that are cryptic or ambiguous. If you walk out of a movie theater thinking about it for days, then there's something about that movie that's stuck with you. Whether that's, the actors' performances, or the meaning behind the movie, the music, or anything like that. Annihilation, for me, certainly did that for many different reasons. This movie is an adaptation of the book with the same title, which is written by Jeff Vandermeer. The movie is directed by Alex Garland, who made Ex Machina, which is a great sci-fi movie that involves psychology, and I highly recommend it. If you are a fan of movies, if you're a fan of sci-fi films and you haven't watched it, go check that out, and then go watch this movie, because you'll probably like it if you liked that movie. Annihilation also gets psychological, but it's different from Ex Machina. I don't want to get too much into analyzing this film. I mean, I'll certainly do it throughout the review, but this is just my interpretation. It's just my thoughts on the movie. Whatever you think this movie is about, that's entirely up to you. And, you're not wrong if whatever you think about, that's the beauty of film. Anyway, when you look at this, just going based off of the story, it's just really about these adventurers discovering new things in the unknown. But that's pretty broad. To be a little bit more specific, Lena, who's played by Natalie Portman, she's a biologist, and her husband, Kane, who's played by Oscar Isaac, has been gone for a year. When he returns, he's acting strange, and then the government and scientists, they take both of them, and then Lena is asked to explore this area called the Shimmer, which is like this weird, psychedelic-looking area. People don't know what's going on in there. So Lena, Dr. Ventress, who's played by Jennifer Jason Leigh, Josie, who's played by Tessa Thompson, and other scientists go in the Shimmer to explore the unknown, not knowing what will happen. Pretty interesting, at least to me. That's at least what the story is about, but at its core, it's about something else. Like I said, how you interpret the film is up to you. Some people might see this movie as a little pretentious and slow, or it has a more artistic style. Yet, that's not how I felt at all in the movie. It's certainly more artistic than, the Cloverfield Paradox, I'll say that. I think this movie offers elements of science fiction that feels original and different from other science films. I think the last sci-fi film that I thought was incredibly different from its genre was Arrival. Yet, this film also has elements of action. But the action isn't so like what you would see in a blockbuster movie. This action feels more contained, but it's still intimidating enough to make these scenes intense. And it works well because the movie mentions that Lena used to be in the military, so this gives us scenes to show how well-rounded the character is when it comes to hazardous situations. In fact, in general, this character is just a unique character, at least to me. This is a character who is incredibly smart and strong. The movie also gives Lena moments to show that she's also just a person who makes mistakes and regrets them. I think that's why by the end of the movie, I felt linked with Lena, because we see more of her as the film goes on. As in, we see more of her personality, more of her past and mistakes and whatnot. Still, there's one more element that's in this movie, and that's horror. It's not like the typical horror movie that, that's put in theaters every couple months. No, this movie uses sound and lighting effects efficiently in order to make certain scenes extreme. There are also times where the horror aspects seems ironically beautiful to look at. I don't want to go too much into about this because I feel like it might give away parts of the movie, and I don't want to do that. I'll just say though, at least for the beautiful part, kind of reminded me of, John Carpenter's The Thing, like the sets and the production and whatnot, and the effects I thought are really cool and beautiful. Kind of like The Fly also, where the effects is really what stands out in The Fly. So yeah, it's kind of like that. Another thing that stood out to me was the coloring. To me, the Shimmer was a very psychedelic area, and I think most people will probably see that too. You could see the colors move, and a lot of them stick out, especially the color green. But that's partly because they're in a forest, so it makes sense. But the way they make these colors shine and stick out is that the characters are more desaturated and muted than their surroundings, which I think is an interesting, and at least to me, it felt like a different way to show color in a movie. I'm not saying this has any important meaning. I just thought it was a unique way to show colors in the backgrounds and the surroundings in this movie. There might be a meaning. I don't know. It might mean something. I don't know. I haven't looked into it. Also, Ben Salisbury and Jeff Barrow's music is pretty damn good. I do like their music in Ex Machina more than this, partly because I thought the melodies were more tender and memorable in Ex Machina. But the music in this movie features a lot of synth and guitar, but they're not blended together. No. I notice more of the guitar melodies when they are exploring and, doing science stuff, whereas the synth stuff is there when the sci-fi elements kick in. And the synth is incredibly noticeable in the third act. It's a huge aspect of the third act. It's pretty much what made me decide, oh yeah, I'll definitely be listening to the soundtrack. So if you're a fan of the score, definitely check it out. It's pretty good. Now, I'm about to get into my interpretation of the movie, what I think some of the themes were. And if you're not interested, totally fine. You don't need to watch the rest of the review, because I certainly mentioned about it in my conclusion as well. But if you're interested, feel free to listen to. But my problem with the movie involves with what I believe the themes are in this movie, which to me is self-destruction, aka Annihilation. Hence the title of the book, the movie, and whatnot. These characters in some way involved with self-destruction, whether that be with themselves or nature. And when I'm talking about with themselves, it's in a psychological manner. I just wish the movie delved more into these themes with the characters. It certainly does this for Lena, Dr. Ventress, and Josie. I wish it got a little bit more into Josie, because it just seemed kind of a sudden thing. And it sort of follows this theme for Anya, who's played by Gina Rodriguez. She's in that CW show where she, accidentally got pregnant or something. I don't know. I think if the movie looked more into the psychological aspects behind Anya, then we would have had more of an understanding of the self-destructive theme. Yet for the other scientist, Cass, who's played by Tuva Novotny, I think I said it right. We hardly know little about this character, and I think if the movie gave us a bit more focus on this character, we could get a better understanding of the themes, and also just a better character relationship between these 5 scientists. I'd like to go into more on why I think the movie is about self-destruction, but if I do that, then I'm giving away a lot of the story, and I don't want to do that, so I'm just going to have to be vague on that part. That's just my interpretation of it. But who knows? I might be wrong. I'm probably wrong. I don't know. I'm sure there are many other possible things this movie could really be about, and I'm sure it's all understandable behind their reasoning of what they think the movie is about. The deeper we get into this jungle, the more we see humanity's true form, Annihilation. At least that's how I see this movie. Giving characters different perspectives on self-destruction in their own ways makes the themes more interesting and gives the ability to make this movie be talked about by many other people because it's so interpretable with many people. It's just, if the movie focused a bit more on including these themes with all of the characters and gave a little bit more time to build relationships, then I think the movie would be way more fascinating on us trying to think what the themes are. The movie still gives Lena much room to shine as a person by showing her wit, strength, and mistakes. Natalie Portman is great as Lena. She's fantastic. It makes her a unique individual. The music is great, and the color schemes by making the background stick out and mute the actors are fascinating. It's a well-blended movie of many elements that make this sci-fi film divergent from many of the other sci-fi genre movies. It's a shame this probably won't do well in the States. I mean, last time I checked, it got like 11 million on its opening weekend. I'm hoping it does well on Netflix internationally, because I definitely want to see what happens next. Or I might as well just, go ahead, start reading the books. Might be good for my brain anyway, instead of watching a movie. Anyway, I'm gonna give it an 8.2 out of 10. Yep. Alright, thanks for watching.